Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022 Outdoor News Deer and Turkey Classic. Sorry. It's like I want to say we're Boots and Backstraps, so that's like how we always start the show. But we are Boots and Backstraps, and today we are rolling live at the 2022 Outdoor News Deer and Turkey Classic. So I'm joined out of studio by my co-host over here and the guy that's learning a whole lot about hunting today, Travis George. Kid George, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. This is fantastic. I've never been to anything like this, and it has been nothing but learning since walking in here.
So it's hilarious as we're walking through and I'm showing you some of the booths and stuff, and we walk past and we're talking about all this hunting and we're talking about guides, and they had like a little fishing thing, which I know you're excited about.
Yep.
And then we walk past the eagle area and you're like, oh, you can hunt eagles? I was like, no, you can't.
I just wanted to make you mad about that.
Absolutely against the law.
I mean, I was 70% sure you couldn't hunt bald eagles. So.
Well, our first guest of the day today, we're super excited to have over here in our little area, our Boots and Backstraps area, from the Outdoor News Deer and Turkey Classic, Shawn Grabow. How we doing, sir?
Good. We're doing great.
Good. Thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
No problem at all.
So now you are over in the area where they're doing the scoring of the mounts, right? The racks.
Yes.
Can you tell us kind of what that's all about?
Well, all the guys over there that are doing the measuring are, not all of them, but most of them are Boone & Crockett, Pope & Young certified measures, where we've gone out and foot our own bill as far as to learn how to measure all these animals, and it's 38 subspecies of animals that we are able to measure. More so, we do all the measuring for the state of Minnesota also.
Okay.
And we have our own group. It's called Minnesota Official Measures. And we also run the record book for the state of Minnesota. So
something that we were just kind of, because Travis over here, he goes by Kid George. It's kind of his stage name. So he's new to the hunting world. He's an experienced angler, but he's new to hunting. He's kind of getting into that.
Okay.
And we were educating him on this Boone & Crockett versus Pope & Young. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah. Pope & Young is strictly archery equipment. They only accept archery-taken animals. Boone & Crockett takes all of the animals, regardless of method of harvest. Firearms, shotgun, rifle, muzzleloader, crossbow, and they will accept archery also, if it meets their standards.
Sure.
Each organization has a minimum to get in, inches-wise.
Sure.
And archery is much harder to take an animal with compared to a rifle.
Right.
So, of course, the minimums for Pope & Young are considerably less than they are for Boone & Crockett.
But a person could theoretically be in both books, right?
Exactly. Yes, I did one yesterday. Nice 186-inch deer. He entered Boone & Crockett, and Pope & Young. He shot it with a bow. And then, of course, if it qualifies for those, it automatically is going to qualify for the Minnesota book also.
So that would be the ultimate honor to be in both.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that there's I won't say it's rare, but there's not a whole lot of people that are able to do that with a quality animal, especially with an archery equipment. So
right.
That's quite the feat.
And from a perspective of someone that's maybe a novice or inexperienced hunter, a typical shooter in Minnesota is like that kind of 100 to 120, right?
Yes. We all think those deer are way bigger, but
when your heart's pounding.
Oh yes, adrenaline takes over, and sometimes you just are making that shot and you didn't even realize you hardly did it. So, yeah.
So if you're sort of like typical deer where you would say, okay, that's shootable versus one that you'd let pass by because you want it to grow and get to be a more mature deer, is that 100 to 120, and the one you said you scored was 186?
Yesterday I did a 186. Today I did a 233. What a beast. From Roseau County, shot in 1963. It's kind of been passed through their hunting group, and some neighbors got involved, and now it's gotten back to the family, and they wanted to honor that animal and that hunter, so they brought it in here to get it scored. I was the fortunate one to measure it, and that's my largest deer I've ever measured. So.
And I would assume, so is that shot in Minnesota then?
Yes, Roseau County.
Oh, Roseau,
way up
right.
in north by the Canadian border. Yes.
Up there by Canada.
Yeah.
And is that a record then?
It's going to be in the top 25 of the state. Yeah, it's not per se a record for the state of Minnesota, but the top 25.
Okay.
But
So
by what percentage or what number was your largest measure before this? You said this was the largest one you've ever
this
measured.
is the largest one I've did. I've been measuring down in Iowa every year also, and I did a 225, a 220.
Okay.
Young kids that
Yeah.
were shooting those big deer down in Iowa.
Yeah, especially
But that's
on
a
that,
whole nother realm down there. So,
I was gonna say that Lakoski property down there.
oh yes,
They grow 'em big down there.
They do.
Yeah.
That whole state of Iowa, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But Minnesota is changing. It really is. This is proof in the pudding. The size of the animals that you're seeing on display here this weekend is unreal for Minnesota. So it's starting to catch on.
We've got our friend Nikki Frogner here, and I think she brought her deer over, right?
Okay. Yes.
She's gonna get that scored, and it sounds like she's number 2. Is that true? Typical?
Yeah, I believe she is. Yes. I haven't gotten to see the deer myself, but yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited to get her to sit down and talk about that harvest. And it was in Scandia, if you know that
Yes,
area.
I do know where that Scandia is. Yes.
So pretty pumped about that. So how many measurements in a day are you typically, like today, because it's a 3-day event?
Yeah. Boy.
I have to imagine it takes some time to do the measurement
Right.
properly.
We've got some. I won't say necessarily young in age, but young measurers in the group, and we're constantly training new people and more people because all we are is getting older. You know how that goes. So we try to get them as much experience as possible because that's only going to make them a better measurer along the line. So
Yeah.
I'm not generally measuring a whole lot of animals, but I'm walking around helping these younger guys get their feet wet. So, but yeah, I like this last deer that I measured was 233 inches, had 27 scorable points. So that's every one of them is a different measurement, different ways of finding to get that measurement.
So now when you say scorable points, what makes it a scorable point?
It's got to be an inch long before it's an inch wide.
Okay.
So.
And so when you're saying inch wide, you're talking as it gets closer to the main beam, right?
Yes, as to where that cutoff is on the main beam, or if it's an abnormal point, it's got to be an inch longer than it is an inch wide at that dissection. Yep.
And how finite are you going? Are you going to like 1/8 of an inch?
We measure to an 1/8, and we round up. With bears, we measure to a 16th.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But now this weekend it's just deer and turkey, right?
Yeah, but we've got Minnesota. We'll measure anything that comes in the door, and Minnesota has a really good population of bears.
Right,
so
black bear, right?
We've been seeing a lot of really nice bears coming in for measurements.
Okay. So when they bring a bear in for measurement, are they bringing the entire pelt in?
Nope. It's just the beetled out, dried skull.
Okay.
And there's only 2 measurements, so it's a pretty quick process.
So I want him to hear about this because I know about this, and you heard him say beetled out. Can you
Yes.
give him the insight on it?
I have an idea, but I want to hear this.
It's like a horror movie.
Well, in order to, you have to have a drying period of 60 days. So that skull has to be completely dried and free of muscle material, fat, cartilage, all
Any
that
flesh,
stuff.
right?
Yes. So, generally speaking, you could boil it, or you can use what they call these dermicide beetles. Those are the best way because you don't get the shrinkage with the dermicide beetles as you would boiling the skull, because that'll shrink it more. And of course, you want to try to keep it as large as you can. So there's getting to be a lot of people that are they own these dermicide beetles, and you bring them the skull. He cleans out everything he possibly can. He puts it in his box with the beetles. They clean it completely. And then he usually peroxides it and whitens it and then seals it. Nice clean finish. No meat or anything. At that 60 days is when we will measure it, as long as that is cleaned up. So.
How accessible is it to get your hands on dermicide beetles? Like is that something can you get them on Amazon?
Well, no, I don't think you can. But the problem with dermicide beetles is you don't want to have any taxidermy work in your house, because it only takes one to get out, and he's going to ruin your taxidermy.
Oh, I can imagine.
So
how big are these beetles?
Oh, they're just tiny.
Like ladybug?
Well, they
Tiny
might be
or-
a little bit longer, but they're
Okay.
pretty kind of flat.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So, and of course, the older they get get lazy too, and they just keep having babies. And you want the babies to, because they take care of stuff right now. They're hungry. So
That's you think about that. Like you said, you don't want them to get out, and if they're
No.
that small, it'd be hard to keep them contained.
Yeah, a good beetle person only does beetles. He doesn't do any taxidermy work because he's going to run into issues. Because they are going to get out eventually, and they will take care of that hide right now.
Wow.
So
That's impressive.
yeah.
So how many, I know it's hard to say for this weekend specifically, but given years past and your experience, how many people do you think will come through and bring mounts for scoring over the course of the weekend?
Oh gosh.
Hundreds?
Yeah, I wouldn't surprised if we're not going to be up at 350 to 400.
Wow.
But we haven't had a show now for 2 years because of COVID. We got shut down 2 years ago, so we're almost working on 3 years of heads that have not been touched. So
Yeah, we had Eric on the show before this to talk, or last week, to talk a little bit about this weekend. And he mentioned snow, right?
yes.
2 years ago?
Yes, well, snow, but the governor shut us down after the first day because of the crowds.
Yeah, that was 2 years ago, and then last year it was snow that basically shut you guys down.
Well, last year I didn't think anything was even scheduled. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Only because it's such a commitment. You've got to make that call real early.
Yeah.
I think that's why we didn't have the show.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not knowing where COVID was going to be.
Yeah.
The snowstorms, the whole thing. Minnesota, you get 4 seasons in one day. So, yeah. Yes.
Especially next week, because they're saying like 50s next week.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the white stuff right now.
The last couple of days have been brutal. That wind,
Yes.
Unbelievable.
It really has.
I know it's blowing his skirt up. I'm like having to follow him
Yeah,
around and keep that
yeah.
thing down.
I went to go fix my plow truck the other day, and I couldn't get my plow out of the ground. It was stuck. So I
Frozen?
I had to hammer the gas just to break it loose, just
Sure.
to lift it. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yep. Only in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, Shawn. Well, thank you very much for making a few minutes to talk to us.
No problem.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and please hit that bell icon. Stay tuned for more.
Boots and Backstraps, brought to you by Homes by Shayne and produced by Danny Geo Productions.
Boots and Backstraps is proudly brought to you by Homes by Shayne. Making your move with the Homes by Shayne team means an unparalleled customer service experience. That level of service is the foundation of this referral-based business. Our driven team of experts communicate with their clients every step of the way, ensuring a memorable experience from the first conversation through your closing day. Go to homesbyshane.com for more information. Let's get you home.
Well, folks, now we're entering what's become kind of my favorite part of the show, because it gives me a chance to reflect on some wonderful times that I had in my life hosting the Wee Fest. I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Lynn, known as Lynn Kitty at the Wee Fest. Lynn was our stage producer for 20 years, and she's been married to me for 30 years. God bless her. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary just a couple weeks ago. And that means we've been together for 32 and a half years. So there you go. So Lynn picked out a couple of photos, and I'm just going to tell a brief little story about each one of them. It's kind of a segment what we do. I guess acquiring all these autographed photos over 35 years, there's certainly more than 100 of them, and I really like doing this because I like remembering the interaction that I had with these different people. Otherwise, they're in a box, you forget about them. Some of them are on the wall. We had over 100 of them on the wall at Red Oak Steaks and Wine, which is a steakhouse that Lynn and I own together in Lino Lakes. and now they're off the wall. They're in boxes, and we
And
got so many animals on the walls that I can't find a space for these anymore.
Yeah. So we get to take a little trip down memory lane and
Yep.
and look at some of these pictures and then see what memory is sparked by you seeing the picture. So Tom does not know what pictures I chose.
Right.
And I'm trying to pick ones that I know of a memory, so I can help out too.
I would say that by judging these are older frames,
Yeah.
because Lynn certainly has met most of these artists after 20 years, but these are old enough to where you probably never met these people.
Maybe not.
I guess we'll find out. There's 2 of them, and I'll just go ahead and pick one up. Oh, now that brings back a memory.
All right, show everybody.
You bet.
There you go. Wild Rose is the name
Wild
of this
Rose.
band. And it was an
There.
all-female band. And they weren't around a long time, were they?
No, these girls, a couple of them are sisters, and they were so much fun, and they were just a ton of energy on
Ton of
stage.
energy, yeah.
And I'll keep this up this way, I guess. If I need to look at it, I'll look at it on the screen there.
So they had a really popular song that I always wanted you to play for me while we were in the nightclub. Do you remember what the name of the song was?
No.
I don't remember either.
Oh, no.
But I remember that they played the song and you always played it for me.
I
It was
loved
a
it.
real upbeat, fun dancing song.
Yeah,
so.
Wild Rose, they were just tons of energy. And I got to walk out and give each one of them flowers. So on my hand, I had written all of their names
Sure.
so I wouldn't forget, because there's 5 of them. And they were just a ball.
No Place Like Home?
No,
No?
I don't know if you can type in their #1 hit or their biggest hit, and if it would come up, but they had some great songs, just
Yeah.
great songs, and they weren't only around a couple of years, you know. And what was the other group, the sisters? Remember?
Breaking New Ground?
That might have been it.
That might have been it. I'm sorry, it's been so long. I mean, I don't remember.
They have their top songs. It looks like Breaking New Ground, Go Down Swinging, and
Go Down Swinging.
Go Down Swinging?
That
okay.
was it. That was it.
Yeah, it was fun.
They were
It sounds
fun.
like-
They were fun.
There's a million people in here today, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit overwhelming, to be honest with you. I got stuck in a whole bunch of antlers over there. I'm like, I got to go back and sit down. I don't know what's going on here.
I will say that having been to this show a couple times before, that moving it here was really the smart way to go, because as much fun as the state fairgrounds were, it was definitely like a smaller facility, and they weren't able to kind of spread things out. Now it seems like they can have more vendors. The vendors can have more room. They've got all these concessions and stuff are set up way better. They've got this full bar behind us, which may be dangerous.
I think it is. Well, they have two, and they got 2 levels of all this.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, Jill was saying when we first got here, started setting gear up. She was like, "Hey, let's go, do shots or something." And I'm like, maybe not at, 10 o'clock in the morning, but
Shane, you're getting old, bud.
I am getting
old.
Oh, I tell you what, though, I'm super excited for our next guest. We've got another VIP sitting with us.
I am too. And you know what? Before I actually saw him, I heard him.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, he was like, is there like some agreeable woman over there just going, yep.
Yeah.
It's like, no, not exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, championship turkey caller Jeff Fredrick is sitting with us. Sorry, Jeff.
Hello. Yes, I'm a turkey caller, I admit.
Wait, are you in recovery or like?
No, I mean, I probably should be, but yeah. I'm full on addicted turkey caller.
You are, and quite good at it, I will say.
Yeah.
Having heard you rip off a few, not just today, but
Yeah,
in the past.
in order to sell my product, I got to demonstrate it. So, a lot of calling involved. Just let me know if you want me to call. I'll call.
Yeah, let's get a little
All
sample
right, here we go. Did I blow up the...
No, you're good.
Here, how's about this one? Try this one.
That's awesome.
See, I thought I had a good turkey call because I go.
Yeah, well.
That's way better. Way better. Way better. Of course, he's a professional.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy that talks on the microphone.
I didn't know actually somebody was doing that with their mouth over there. I thought they had some tools going and everything else.
Oh, no,
I thought it was
it's
a recording.
This is just me.
I walk over there. I stood there for a while. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
This is gonna be
Just
awesome.
this.
He pushes the button, and it just happens, right? So how many years have you been part of this show now?
Since the beginning.
Okay.
How long's that been? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Love Minnesota. Love the show. Like you said, I love this facility.
Yeah.
Man, I got a really just the lighting, the space for my customers to come and talk to me. Yeah, I love it.
And we were just saying,
if you come down here, he does have a prime spot, so make sure you come hang out with him.
perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you don't see him, then you're coming up the escalator with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And I've got not just turkey calls, but a lot. I'm a wildlife artist. I have a lot of my wildlife art on display, and I really tried to put a nice booth together, and then I get to make some noise.
So for people that are not familiar with turkey calls,
Okay.
whatever,
Yep.
how many different types of calls are there?
Well, there's primarily air-operated calls and friction-operated calls. Now, what I'm running here is an air-operated call that fits all the way inside my mouth.
Reed, right?
Yeah, it's a little reed. It's a little musical instrument, basically. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I try to teach people how to use this thing. Because a lot of people, oh, geez, a turkey call, and they get it, and they put it in their mouth, and they're going to make turkey sounds right away. But you know what? It's really just a real simple little musical instrument. You got to learn the different tones before you can sound like a turkey. You gotta figure out what does what.
So how long before, like when you first started, how long before you're like, I got something here. Let's turn this into a business.
You know what? I started this so long ago, I don't really remember.
That's not a bad answer.
Listen, here's the story. So I'm a 11, 12-year-old kid. My dad's a taxidermist. So what I did, it was a family trip. We would come to shows like this because he would go there and compete in taxidermy competitions. And it was a family trip. We'd all go to the sports show. And so here I am, a 11, 12-year-old hunting fanatic kid, and the show promoter would give me little odd jobs to do, and I'd end up with a $20 bill. Now let me tell you, I'm a taxidermist kid. We didn't get a lot of $20 bills. So what did I do with that extra cash? I'm hanging around the booth where these guys with very bizarre accents that I wasn't familiar with, here they're making cool noises with a little thing they stick inside their mouth. So what did I buy with my $20? A mouth call.
There you go.
I bet you your parents were very pleased with that.
Oh, of course.
Just the noises coming out of your bedroom to add to the
So
noises that were already
it was
there.
a while ago. Like, this is mid-'80s, okay?
Yeah, this is mid-'80s. Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, okay.
It's like that's
yeah.
when he was born.
So anyway, then these really friendly guys who I didn't know nothing about turkey hunting. It was just new and cool to me. And they said, you run that thing pretty good. Y'all should try turkey calling contest. They got one here. Well, guess what? I tried it. And unfortunately, I won that first contest, and that's it. I'm addicted,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So how many, because I was obviously getting a little more familiar with your bio, knowing you were going to be here,
Yeah.
and not knowing really all your backstory. But it's really interesting because you've been in competition for like 30 years, right?
Well, yeah, I retired from calling contests in 2010, and then that's when I started really focusing on, selling my product and working on my wildlife art.
Turn your skill into an income.
Yeah.
Turn
Well,
your-
it's
turn
not
your
great,
passion.
but we're working on it.
Yes, it sounds like more like turning your passion into some,
Yeah.
into
Yep.
money.
Yep, and I was a art director at a sign company for 20 years, and eventually I got to the point where I just do the wildlife art primarily and the turkey calls full time.
So at this point, I know you're not competing, but I assume you're still hunting
Oh yeah.
because you can't get that out of your blood, right?
Oh no, that was always the primary focus. The reason I went to calling contests was because I knew that I didn't want to make mistakes when I was out hunting. And really it just equated to confidence in what I was doing. When you practice so much with your tool, you get a little cocky. Okay, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I'd call and a turkey didn't gobble, and I didn't think to once I got like really practiced and I won some contests, it changes your mindset. You're like, okay, so this turkey didn't gobble at me. Well, it ain't my fault. I know I sound like a hen turkey. It's his problem, you know? And that's the kind of attitude that I try and portray when I'm doing my seminars. Everybody should adopt that, because the reality is, the truth is, a gobbler doesn't care if you sound like a champion caller at all. He could care less.
Right.
As long as your mindset is that you're a champion caller and you're cocky about it and you're confident, your success rate will rise.
It's so true. I mean, with turkey, with deer, where you're grunting them in, like whatever it is, sometimes they are just not interested because they're not interested.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not doing nothing wrong.
So, yeah, it's like, well, I know I sound good. Whatever. It's your problem, not mine.
You're too small anyway.
Yeah.
Look at that pathetic little beard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you do any like guiding or anything, or just kind of hunting with you and your family?
No, it's me and my family. I got 3 teenagers. You know, they all really like it when Dad calls them in a turkey. So I'm busy
job.
on that end. Yeah.
I was like, you're gonna get real busy here next month.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Spring
Yeah,
turkey
they
season.
all drew some tags. So.
Okay. And are you guys from this area then?
La Crosse, Wisconsin area, out in the country there by La Crosse. Yep.
Are you Packer fans?
Yeah.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah. Well, you know, obviously my focus is hunting. So,
Yes.
you know, if I got my big buck, yeah, I'll watch the game.
Well, you got to be pretty thrilled about keeping Rogers then.
Well, I guess. You know, okay, so my thing is, okay, we're keeping Rogers. Why he hasn't asked me to take him turkey hunting? I guess that's my issue.
We'll
have to send him something. Yeah.
I'm not even sure he eats meat.
That's true.
You know, that hair thing, and he started dating that gal from California, Shayne Woodley or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, he might be whatchamacallit, a vegetarian or whatever.
Could be, yeah.
That would be that'd be interesting though, for you to take somebody out like that.
Yeah, it sure would be.
Because there are a lot of athletes that are into hunting.
Oh, there's no doubt. I'm pretty sure Brett Favre. I would like to take him turkey hunting if you're listening.
Down in Mississippi.
Yeah.
So is this the only show that you participate in? I have to assume that you're trying to you set your booth up in other opportunities, right?
I'll have a different show that's in the Wisconsin Dells.
Okay.
Yep.
And when is that one?
And I really rely a lot too on my online sales.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the website?
FredrickChampionsChoice.com. FREDRICK championschoice.com.
Yeah, we got to make sure we get that plug out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we do is we translate all this content to our social media pages too.
Oh, sure.
And so what we'll do is we'll put hyperlinks for the website as part of your interview.
Okay, so I'm going to admit, I'm 50. Yeah, social media. I'm
You don't look
in there.
50.
I'm in there, but it's a challenge for me.
You're not like that old lady on the
I
commercial.
got to ask my teenage kids. So what do I do on Instagram? How do I do this?
Right.
I'm 39 right now, and I have found myself asking my teenagers too. I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am. I didn't think it was going to happen so soon. I don't know what's going on.
You're too young to be a boomer, but they'd call you a boomer.
I can't figure out anything anymore. I thought I had the social media thing, handled. I do not.
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So the platforms, they just keep popping up, right?
Yeah.
And they change from a technology standpoint. So we did as part of my business, I do real estate full time during the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went to this, Jill, my executive assistant, and I went to this social media summit thing where they talked about social media and its influences in market space, particularly real estate. And this guy dropped this nugget on there, and he said, did you know that in 2020 and 2021, TikTok got more hits, like site visits, than Google? I was like, wow. I mean, that's saying something, that's where we
Oh,
are.
my. Yeah.
So if you're not already doing it, you got to get those teenagers putting up little
I
short
was
clips.
Did TikTok just go right over your head?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This all went over my head.
Yeah, no,
I don't
get
know
it.
what you're talking about.
Have your kids listen to this. They're going to go, we got it, Dad.
Oh, we got
it.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good.
So now you've been pretty busy over there, and I have
Yeah.
to imagine it's got to be challenging for you to want to talk with folks, because I know you like to just kind of chat with people, get to know people.
I do.
But
Yep.
at the same time, there's an expectation because you are a champion. They're coming here to see you. They want to hear you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wanna
Yep.
hear you rip and
You know,
roll.
Yeah, they want me to.
I would
they
say
want me
I don't
to
think he
call.
has a problem throwing it out there. I mean, I've been hearing him the whole time. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think he enjoys it.
Yep.
And like we said earlier, if it's a passion, I mean, it's a really easy way to make some money.
I make sure that I spend as much time as I can with each customer, because I know if I get them started on the right foot, running a mouth call, or they're looking at some of my wildlife art, I'd like to spend some time with them. That's why I'm here at this show, is because I can talk with my customer face to face. They can meet me, I can meet them. It's something you cannot replace with social media.
Oh, right. Exactly
One-on-one
right.
personal contact.
That relationship building.
Yeah.
That's how you build that sort of long-term customer.
Yep.
And then that turns into referral, right?
Oh, yeah, big time.
You spend 10 minutes with one couple, explaining that they've got some interest. They come to you. You're talking to them about your product. You demonstrate it.
Yeah.
They get excited. You build a little relationship and rapport with them, and they tell 10 of their friends, "Hey, you're also turkey hunters, or you're deer hunters, or you're into wildlife portraiture, or whatever it may be."
Yep.
And then they're going to your website and they're buying stuff too.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah, that's how it works.
especially with you spending that face-to-face time. I met this guy. He's fantastic. Check him out. That's a good way to go.
He's so boring. Can you give us another sample? 'Cause
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
love to hear it.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Maybe we shouldn't while they're presenting.
I'll go quiet.
There you go. And that's a hen, right?
Little hen talk. Yep, she's just quiet. Not talking real loud. But sometimes you want to tease them old toms. Yep.
Can you give us, and I don't want you to give away like your whole playbook, but can you give us like a little insight? Like you're taking your kid out to go on a turkey hunt. What does it look like when you pick a spot, you go set up, like you're in a ground blind, or you're just like in camo, or like what does it look like for you?
Yeah, it highly is. It's very variable, and what I've learned over my 34 years of turkey hunting is it's very dependent on the property itself. So some properties I hunt my property is 36 acres. Another property I hunt is 200 acres. Another property I hunt is 500. I'm going to hunt those a little different, and the terrain has a big factor on that too. So one of the properties I hunt is a large field up on a ridge top, and the woods is all very steep and hard to hunt. So I typically like to get a blind right out in the middle of the field, because over the years I learned I know where the turkeys like to end up. After they fly down, they come out in them fields, so I'll hunt it that way. I hunt out of a ground blind that way. Sometimes, in certain woods where it's more wooded, there's not as many fields, I will just put the camo on, and the kids and I will take a gun and just a few mouth calls, and we'll do the traditional old fun way of hunting where you just set up against a tree and you wait them out, call them in. And so it's really kind of dependent. In my seminar, I talk about how I encourage people to kind of pre-plan, think about your property, hunt it somewhat low impact. If you own 20 acres, you don't want to be out there with the term run and gun.
Yeah, right.
I don't like the term run and gun. Run and gun can be translated as impatient and high impact.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's good for elk, but not so much for birds.
You got to be careful. You don't want to spook everything, and constantly be, once you spook some turkeys, they're used to getting spooked by different predators and different things. But, you're pretty much done for a good half of the day. They're not going to be apt and willing to come into a call per se, after you chase them off a field. So,
Right.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. There's nothing there. It's fine.
Yeah, it's something that, it's just smart hunting. Look at your property, and I use all the different, as long as it's an ethical, fair way to pursue my quarry, the awesome, most beautiful, cool bird on earth, the wild turkey gobbler. As long as I'm doing it ethically and I'm giving them a fair shot, blinds, sitting in the woods, I'm mainly picking that style of hunting based off of what the property is going to, dictate me doing.
How do you feel about the populations in the last few years?
Well, that's a good question, and it's definitely a hot topic right now. The nationwide, there is some general population declines, and there's some super good research going on, and I'm really into reading the research papers that they're doing about some of the turkey declines. And the hunting pressure definitely has a bearing on some of this in some parts of the. We're really fortunate up here in the upper Midwest. We still have a super healthy turkey population, but I, as a turkey lover, don't want to lose that. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm totally. I read everything that is conservation minded. We got to preserve this resource so that my kids and in the future, anyone who's really into turkeys can have that one-on-one battle with a gobbler on a fair chase type situation.
It's interesting because Tom and I went to the Black Hills a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was my first time hunting the Black Hills. I'd been there several times just checking it out, obviously, as kind of a tourist or whatever. I love that part of out west. But so anyway, so we go out there, and he had half a dozen spots he'd had a lot of success with in the past.
Yeah.
And we went to every one of those spots, plus probably another half dozen from talking to locals trying to find turkeys. And we didn't see a single turkey that wasn't in a development where there's like residential. And so locals are basically saying that the population has declined so much in that area that the turkeys that are there are in those developments because they know they're safe. They can't be hunted.
Yeah, yeah.
And out in the wild areas where you would typically find them, just nothing. I mean, we're not seeing scratch. We're not seeing anything.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it's really sad because, I mean, I came to age in the turkey hunting world in the population boom. I mean, my gosh, it was incredible.
Take your pick.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, the upper Midwest. I mean, I hunted all over the country, way out west, Oregon, Washington, Idaho. I hunted Texas, Oklahoma, kind of that southwest area.
Tom loves Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. I've hunted Colorado. I've hunted South Dakota, Montana. And every time, so you're driving out there in the spring and you're driving home in the spring, and I'd get into the driftless region of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and I just knew in my heart this is some of the greatest turkey country in the nation.
Yeah.
And it's always been very good. And that's what I'm saying is, let's do everything we can to preserve this resource because what the research is finding out is it's never one element that is to blame for turkey decline. It's always a variety of factors. And so one of the researchers described it as like a football game. And, sometimes the special teams kind of wins the game. Sometimes the offense wins the game. Sometimes the defense wins the game.
Not so much defense around here, brother.
And unfortunately, there's all these different factors, and in a lot of parts of the country, the turkey is losing. They're losing. They don't have all the things lined up that they need to. Because here's the bottom line: to have an adult turkey to hunt, you got to have a little baby turkey.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's the baby turkeys what's important.
Yes, of
Yep,
course.
just
right.
like with deer, just like with waterfowl, just like with pheasants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or human beings, that like replacement value is something that we constantly talk about. Like, okay, and not to say that people hunt people, but you think about there are some areas of the world where they're not having as many kids.
Yeah.
And people are dying, and it's like, okay, you're gonna have an issue in a generation or two.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now with some of these populations of game animals.
Yeah.
Where they don't have that, where they weren't breeding the way they should because there was too much hunting, especially with the younger deer.
Yep.
They didn't grow up, they didn't have kids. Now we got a problem.
Yep.
They don't come out of nowhere.
Yep. So I mean, I basically do my part as whatever a turkey pro guy who's doing his talks, do the seminars and stuff. I always make sure I add in a little bit of the conservation ethic part of it. That's the bottom line. Is if you're taking from nature, you should always give back just a little bit more than what you take.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about that conservation piece and how important it is.
Yep.
And why hunting is conservation. Because the natural predatory issues, especially like in Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and I don't know if that's an issue in Wisconsin with like wolves and things like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're wiping out deer population, or wiping out all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. So anyway, back to calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the fun part. I mean, what kind of hunting can you really focus on making goofy noises with a little gadget inside your mouth? That's what drew me to it. That's why I love it so much. And to practice with this little musical instrument, and then you go out in the woods on a beautiful spring morning, you make your little call, and a big old gobbler gobbles back. There ain't nothing like it.
As Tom would say, a limb hanger.
Yeah.
I noticed you got some pretty impressive spurs on that
Oh,
necklace.
yeah.
There,
Yep. Well, I've been fortunate to shoot a few turkeys in my day.
Okay, wait. You're not getting over that one that easy. How many gobblers would you say you've harvested in your
No
life?
clue.
Like-
I never kept track.
Do you think we're into 3 digits?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
oh, there's no doubt. Yeah.
So you've eaten well, you're saying. Okay.
Okay, so here's the deal. So wild turkey is my family of 5, and with me included. It's our number 1 favorite meal is wild turkey. I make it the same way every time, and that is, I mean, we go through a lot of turkeys every year.
You bake it, you fry it, you smoke it.
So what I do is I slow cook it, and I don't just take the breast. I take the breast, the thighs, the legs, the little nice piece of meat up on the back. I take all the meat off, and then I slow cook it overnight, a good 12, 14, 16 hours of slow cooking till the meat is falling apart. And then I take it out of the slow cooker, and I kind of shred it.
Okay.
And basically,
Whole
especially
turkey.
you kind of, but I add a little bit to it yet.
Okay.
So the breast of a wild turkey is somewhat dry, right? It's healthy. So then what I do is I shred it, and I take a mix. It's like a Frying Magic mix.
Okay.
And I shake it in that, and then I fry it with like canola oil and olive oil mix, something like that, because that replaces some moisture.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's good. Yep.
It's what do we?
We eat it with cranberries.
You never know with these shows.
Yeah, we eat it with cranberries. Squash is good with it. Yeah, potatoes.
That sounds amazing. So how many? I mean, do you have like a goal of how many you try to harvest each year, so you can stock up and save in the freezer for through the year?
10 to 12.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was just
About
thinking.
one a month. Yeah, we eat at least 1 turkey a month.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it must be a little easier now because the kids are at that point where they are
Oh
having
yeah,
some success.
they're taking some pressure off Dad.
Dad doesn't have to knock down 8 anymore. Now you can knock down 4, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have a preference when you're hunting, whether firearm or archery? You kind of like both?
Yeah, I primarily use firearm.
Okay.
Yep. Always been a shotgunner. Love shotgunning. To me, because I'm a turkey caller, and it's the process of bringing the bird into range is what that's where I derive my hunting pleasure from. So once I get a bird in range, I want, if this is a bird I'm going to take and eat, I'm going to kill him. He's going to be dead, right?
Yep.
Once
Not
I
taking
get
any
to that
chances.
stage, I want it done as clean as possible.
Right.
Yep, because really everything prior to that moment in time is what I derived out of the hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when you use a bow and arrow, then you have that problem of potentially ruining meat, right?
It can, but I mean, bow hunting is cool too.
Yeah.
The cool part about bow hunting turkeys is it's totally silent. Stunk.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's cool about bow hunting.
I was thinking about when we went on that hunt to the Black Hills I was mentioning.
Yeah.
And it was my first time hunting turkey. And we were talking on the way out there. He's giving me the 411 and his experience. And he's obviously an experienced hunter. And I was like, okay, so how do you sort of avoid having this problem of picking a bunch of BBs out of the meat? And he's like looking at me all funny, and I'm like, what? And he goes, you shoot him in the head, dummy.
Call him in close, shoot him in the head.
That's
Yep.
right. Yeah, because you're not eating nothing off that head.
That's right.
So how many mounts do you have? I have to imagine you've gotten a few that have been more impressive.
Oh yeah. So I do a unique thing to my turkeys, and it's feather art. So what I do is I create abstract compositions, wall art, with the turkey's feathers.
Just feathers?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just the turkey's feathers, and this is a primary part of my business. So
Okay.
people all over the country send me their turkey feathers, and then I create artwork with them. I'm not painting on them. I'm actually using the feather as my medium to create these abstract pieces of artwork.
So
That is a primary part of my business right now.
So tell me more about that process. When somebody hires you, right?
Yep.
To do this.
Yep.
And they're going to send you the medium, the feathers.
Yep.
Do they give you something for inspiration? Do they just kind of give you carte blanche?
So I have two kind of standard formats that I work in, and then sometimes a customer will say, well, I have a certain size space on my wall. Can you create a piece of artwork to fit in that space? And that's kind of where it starts. Now, what I have is on my YouTube channel,
Yeah.
Jeff Fredrick Champion's Choice. I have a YouTube channel. I have specific instructions of how I want my customer to skin the turkey and then handle the turkey, freeze it, and then I have specific shipping instructions for them to ship the skin to me.
Okay.
I produce the artwork for them. Most of my customers is mainly messaging, over my social media sites and my
Sure.
emailing. And then what I do is I finish the artwork, send them a picture, box it up, and ship it back to them.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yes.
I have to imagine it's quite the process to have care that way for the animal
Yeah.
to make sure that you get a usable product to do what you do.
What's
Well,
the turnaround on that? Like, if they send it to you and they come up with the idea, how long does it take to get the product back to them?
Month to 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
currently. With the workload I currently have.
Sure.
Yeah. Which
Sure.
maybe increases, yeah. But,
Well, it's a little tougher in that like March, April area,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because you're sitting out with a gun in your hand.
Yeah.
Production slows down just a little bit.
Just a
yeah.
tad. Yeah. But,
Due
yes.
to weather.
Yep. But yeah, so that's kind of how I do that, and it's been going well. Like I said, it's unique abstract wall art created with the most gorgeous feathers in the world, which are iridescent turkey feathers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you must get, because I know they have the Grand Slam back here,
Oh yeah.
and I would assume that people send you all these different types of
Yep.
feathers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Yep.
ever get like creative and like mix the different breeds?
You know what? I have one customer who's kind of hinting at that.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll probably do it. Oh, I can definitely do it. I have a piece. My brother went on a duck hunt and he got some teal, some green wing teal, and some gadwall. And I have a piece that is for the hunt. So that one piece of art has parts of 3 green wing teal and a gadwall in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I might have to like look you up
You
if I
gotta
can knock
come
it.
and check it out.
Yeah, I got to knock a turkey down first.
Yeah.
And then we'll definitely like hire you.
Yep.
So it's funny because when we're back there looking at stuff, people often look at the oscillated specific
Yeah.
turkey and think, oh, that can't be real, right?
Oh yeah, them are cool.
Very cool.
Yep.
Beautiful. I mean, the coloration. You what was the joke you dropped back there?
Which one? The one it looks like an alien?
No. Well, about the hiding.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they can hide in the wild pretty well. Yeah.
The bright blue head.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the really iridescent feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 6 specific species, right?
Yeah, so there's 5 of the, I guess you could call regular turkey like we know.
Right.
There is a eastern, that's the upper Midwest, most of the eastern part of the United States. Down in Florida, you have an Osceola. Kind of the northwest part of the country, it's Merriam's in the mountain countries, and they are also in prairies. And then when you go down into Oklahoma and Texas, it's called the Rio Grande. And they all have they're subspecies of the same species.
Right.
And they all have a little bit different coloration of their feathers.
And that's probably a byproduct of their diet and the climate and all that stuff, right?
Yep. Well, yeah, and it is an actual genetic variation
Oh, okay.
of that wild turkey. And then also there's one down in the Yucatan in Mexico that's called the ocellated, and it's a cousin of the North American wild turkey.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's the one we're
That's
talking
the
about.
one you're
Yep.
talking about, yeah, with the
Beautiful.
it's very jungle-like. So the more the bird, if you've watched like nature shows, like the birds of paradise in the jungle, it seems like the more tropical, the more vibrant and amazing the different feather types are, and the iridescent types. Yeah.
And it's not like frogs. Like the more colorful they are, the more poisonous they are, or anything like that.
Well, it could be. Yeah.
I don't think turkeys are poisonous. Oh, maybe, I guess.
I'm just guessing here.
So yeah, and that's why the wild turkey is a native of North American, bird, and if you look at how iridescent it is, it really, and granted, rough grouse and other native species, you look at prairie chickens and sharp-tails and sage grouse, they have their own beauty, but there is not a native North American bird that has more iridescence than a wild turkey.
Yeah, they are an impressive animal, and as we have conversations about species, wild game, and specifically with their senses.
Yeah.
And turkey have an incredible sense of sight and hearing, right?
Yeah. Oh, and see, and I'm basically, so I market myself as the gobbler geek.
Okay.
So when I do my turkey seminars and stuff, because I'm a geek about it, right? I'm not one of these, reapers and killers, and I'm a geek. I'm a geek about wild turkeys. And so the thing that I talk a lot about in my seminar, because I'm a geek, is I've done a lot of research on the eyesight of turkeys. So a turkey is a daylight active bird. So if you look at the ornithological studies, I read it online, Cornell Lab of Ornithology, they've done a lot of research on the vision of birds. And so a turkey is a daylight active bird. So it's got the same kind of eye as these other birds they're studying. And what they found is so us humans have 3 types of photoreceptors in our eye. We see in red, green, and blue, RGB.
Yep.
Rods and cones. We know what rods and cones are, right?
Yep.
So we're talking rods and cones now. Now you look at a wild turkey or any kind of daylight active bird, when they look at their eyes under electron microscopes, they have 4 types of photoreceptors compared to our 3. So we got good color vision, right, us humans?
Yeah.
Birds have better.
So what's the 4th one then?
Well, they say it's ultraviolet.
Okay.
So they see RGB and ultraviolet.
That's interesting.
Now, a turkey's feather, so the reason it's got that iridescent color is not because that's a pigmented color. That is a microscopic structure that is bending sunlight.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing.
That's why they change colors. The feathers change colors. So now a wild turkey can see in a spectrum that we humans can't. And their feathers are bending those spectrums that we can't see.
Just
So
makes it that much harder to hunt them.
Yeah.
Or
Just when I
find
couldn't
them.
get more confused about what's going on here, you're going to drop that on me?
Yeah, exactly. So here's my little takeaway. Someday when I die and go to heaven, the first thing I'm going to say is, can I see what a turkey looks like through a turkey's eyes?
Yeah.
Because, my goodness, I know how beautiful they look to me. Add color, add ultraviolet, add this stuff. It's got to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeff, we're going to
So
let
am I a geek or what?
No.
You're a geek in the best of ways.
There you go.
I would say that's wisdom, not geekery. And you earned it, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to let you get back
Yeah,
over
I
to your booth.
got to get back to the booth, man.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Fredrick, and of course he's with Champions Choice.
One more
Turkey
time,
calls.
where can people find you?
the website.
Your social, your YouTube.
Yeah,
a couple of
if
those
you,
things.
I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Jeff Fredrick, Champions Choice, YouTube. My actual website is fredrickchampionschoice.com.
Okay.
Thank
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Appreciate
Thanks a
your
lot.
time.
Thanks for
Yep.
making it.
Good to talk to you guys.
Come on now.
The hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.